everybody. How you doing? Welcome. Today we are going through Jeopardy Bootcamp, and this again is in conjunction with Trivial Warfare by Jonathan Oakes and Andy the Quizzer with the Jeopardy fan and his Twitch channel, which should be right on the bottom of my stream, so you can give him a follow as well. Anyway, we're going to be getting into our Jeopardy Bootcamp. Today is British history. For those of you who were here last week, you know that we did American Lit. Next week, for those of you who keep things on your calendar, we are doing Greek mythology. Greek mythology next week for those of you that are fans of Greek myth. So that'll be a lot of fun as well. For those of you who this is your first time here, we're going to go through 30 questions. Each question will have approximately a 30-second time limit. Because on the show, you even have less time than that. So that's going to be interesting for those of you who really sometimes have to ruminate on answers. During Jeopardy, you don't have that time. So this is going to be interesting for some of you. You're going to basically be giving your answers. And if you're right, that's great. If you're wrong, that's kind of good too. Because that gives you a point of where we need to really start concentrating our studying. At the end of the stream, Amy is going to spam out a link to you. And that link will have our wonderful PDF file where you'll be able to basically go through all the questions we went through today, along with a FAQ that was written by Amy this week about what the audition process is like for those who have been on Jeopardy. So that's going to be interesting for those of you who are trying out for the first time, or those of you who have not made it past the test yet. And I say yet because you're all going to make it past the test. This will give you an opportunity to kind of figure out what you should expect to see. Tonight's game was compiled by Amy, so give hearts in chat for Amy. Without her, this would not have been done. And we're going to get started now. Our first 10 questions are top 2 rows. You do not need to answer in the form of a question. So just give the answer. It's going to be easiest that way. And last names are always acceptable unless otherwise, said. If I'm asking for a person of nobility and they have a reginal number, always include it. This isn't like the show where I can ask you for more information. It doesn't work that way, unfortunately, here. So if you know the reginal number, please include it. Here we go. Question number 1. Only 2 British prime ministers have been born outside the British Isles. Andrew Bonar Law in Canada, and this 2019 arrival in New York City. This is Boris Johnson. Boris Johnson, born outside of the British Isles, born in New York City. The keys here would be British PM 2019. I mean, he's been in the news quite a bit, so that would definitely be a way in on that one. Question number 2. Containing concessions by the king, this 13th century document is one of the foundations of English and American law. Got to be careful. I know that with spelling, it's a typing thing for most of us, but at least one of you, actually more than one of you, wrote down the Magna Carta, and you definitely don't want to say that on the show, because that would get you negged. You definitely it's the Magna Carta. Magna Carta. That'd be something I would do also. Question number 3. The return in 1660 of the monarchy and King Charles II isn't called the reinstallation or the redemption, but this. This is the Restoration. The Restoration. And again, at the end of this, you're going to get a PDF, and your PDF will have all of this information, including the highlighted words. So 1660 King Charles II should bring you to Restoration. Question number 4. Oh, we don't talk about antiques. Question number 4. The site of many coronations, this religious edifice was dedicated December 28th, 1065. This religious edifice was dedicated on December 28th, 1065. It's Westminster Abbey. Westminster Abbey. Question number 5. Mistaking cheering for a riot, William the Conqueror's guards burned local houses after his coronation on Christmas of this year. So one of the funny things to know when you're answering a question like this, William the Conqueror, if you ever see William the Conqueror, one of the first things that needs to pop into your head is 1066. 1066 for William the Conqueror. One of the 3 years that I know. It's one of those things that just come up a bunch. Question number 6. Again, we're still in the top 2 rows. In 1917, the royal family took this new name, also a castle. So, 1917, this royal family took this new name. Windsor. Windsor. And again, 1917, also a castle, new name would be ways to remember Windsor here, 1917. Next one, question number 7. Ragnar, who raids a British monastery, is one of these title people in a 2013 History Channel series. In this one, Ragnar, and if you might have thought of Ragnarok or something to that extent, you might get the answer is Vikings. Vikings. Scandinavia. Question number 8, again from the top 2 rows. In 1875, Britain purchased the holdings of Ismail Pasha in this canal company. $1875 should be a pretty big clue. Britain purchased the holdings of Ismail Pasha for the Suez Canal Company. The Suez Canal Company. Question number 9, also in the top 2 rows, England and France fought the Battle of Herrings in 1429. As this long conflict was lurching was to a close. Yeah. England and France fought the Battle of Herrings in 1429 as this long conflict lurching was to a close. Long conflict, 1400s. It is the 100 Years' War, which lasted longer than 100 years. Question number 10, and this is the last one out of the beginning, or the first 2 rows of questions. During Stanley Baldwin's term as PM, this King of England abdicated to facilitate his marriage to Wallis Simpson. So many of these I just can't accept. You're going to forgive me. I'm not trying to be a jerk, but on the show they wouldn't accept it either. Edward isn't enough. Edward just isn't enough. You would need Edward the Eighth. Edward the Eighth is the connection to Wallace Simpson. So now we're going to the middle two rows. These are slightly more difficult, and if you're on the show, these are some of the ones you definitely want to pick up. They're definitely not as hard as the bottom row clues, and but they're not worth as much, difference than the bottom row. You can really pick up some money on easier clues if you have these memorized. So let's look at question number 11. Thomas Bruce, Earl of this, went east to Greece to get some marbles. His son James went west and was Governor General of Canada. So this one has a really great little Pavlov here. And it doesn't look like it at first. But there's one word that you need to clue in on, and it's marbles. And the thing you should remember about marbles is that they're from Elgin. Elgin marbles. Question number 12. Again, middle two rows. These are all from the middle two rows. In December 1947, Parliament passed the law granting independence to this Asian island. But the year is a clue, 1947. Other countries that got their independence at around that time include India and Pakistan and Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka is the correct answer. Question number 13. Ceylon was also acceptable. Someone did put it in, and they did get credit automatically. Thanks for doing that, Amy. Question number 13. Again, middle two rows. The first archbishop of this historic town was St. Augustine, a monk sent by the Pope to convert the English. So, I did some research on this question because, again, stuff I didn't know. I actually had the same answer as some of you, which was a hippo. And it's not. So, the answer is Canterbury. Canterbury. St. Augustine, basically the father of the British Church. Question number 14. Again, middle two rows. In 1833, the Royal Navy threw Argentina out of this island group. They did it again 149 years later. What jerks. The correct answer is the Falkland Islands. I included Malvinas as a correct answer as well. Again, Argentina, island group, and anything with the UK. They are Falkland jerks. Yeah, so anything 1833, Argentina, UK will probably be the Falkland Islands. Question number 15. On September 30th, 1888, Elizabeth Stride and Catherine Eddowes both ran afoul of this terrible man in London. Answers are in. You all got this one like it was an easy question. 1888, UK, Jack the Ripper. Jack the Ripper. Question number 16. Still negotiating for peace, this prime minister met with Mussolini in Rome in January 1939. So, this guy loved peace, loved getting people excited about peace, talked about peace in our time quite a bit. It's Neville Chamberlain. Neville Chamberlain. Question number 17. We're more than halfway done, by the way, so thank you for hanging out. Thank you for moving quickly. On Jeopardy, it moves quickly. So, this isn't... And this actually is slower twitch than you still need for that show. So, these gotta be, there. They weren't there for me. That's why I have a broken buzzer. Question number 17. In 1440, Henry VI founded this boys' school as a prep school for King's College. Now, this is a school that I've only seen written. I've never heard pronounced. So if I pronounce it wrong, you could all correct me in chat, because I do very good jobs of mispronouncing things. I actually had an Colleges of Oxford category when I was on Jeopardy, and I'm still kind of angry about that. But this is Eton. Oh, Eton? It's Eton. Thank you, Eton. Thanks, everybody. Eton. I won't mess that up in the future. Question number 18, middle two rows. In the late 400s, 3 Germanic tribes invaded. The Angles, the Saxons, and this one, whom is a Danish peninsula was named. For whom a Danish peninsula was named. So in this one, if you were thinking of Jutland, you were there. Again, the 3 Germanic tribes invaded, the Angles, the Saxons, and the Jutes, or the Juts. However you want to pronounce that today is fine. Jutland? Is that really? I've been pronouncing that wrong for my entire life. Question number 19. In 1984, she narrowly escaped assassination as her hotel bathroom was destroyed by an IRA bomb. So 1984 is key here. Who would be assassinated in 1984? Or at least tried to be assassinated in 1984. Margaret Thatcher. The she 1984 should put you right in the realm of Margaret Thatcher there. So that is... we have one more question for the middle 2 rows, and then we get to the harder stuff. Like the real hard stuff that I was laughing at because I didn't know most of it. Question number 20. The exposure of a plot against Elizabeth I using letters smuggled in beer barrels led to the execution of this woman. The correct answer is Mary, Queen of Scots. If you said Mary I, because Mary I of Scotland, or you said Mary Stuart, you also received credit. Those are definitely correct answers. And you would have gotten credit for them. Let's move on to the last bunch of questions. Let's continue on. We have 10 questions left. So we can get you going in time for some fun trivia at LK. Question number 21. We're getting to the bottom row stuff. This is much harder. Dying childless in 1714 despite 18 pregnancies, Queen Anne was this dynasty's last monarch. tougher one. We definitely start getting up to the harder ones. Queen Anne is Stuart. The Stuart dynasty. So Queen Anne will pretty much always be connected to the Stuart dynasty. Question number 22. King of Wessex, this great monarch, prevented England from completely falling to the Danes in the 800s. So we know that Ethelred was unready, but they asked for the great monarch, not the unready monarch. And Jeopardy loves to do stuff like this. Jeopardy loves to do stuff like this by giving you kind of these answers that are halfway in the response already. It's Alfred the Great. Alfred the Great. Question number 23. He was PM from 1902 to 1905. Later, a declaration supporting a Jewish homeland in Palestine was named for him. So he was PM from 1902 to 1905. Later, declaration supporting Jewish homeland in Palestine was the Balfour Declaration, and that was named after author James Balfour. Cruising right along. Question number 24, almost done. In the 16th century, Richard Davies, Bishop of St. David's, helped translate the New Testament into this language. Knowing the patron saint, Saint David, would help you the most because the translation is into Welsh. Patron saint of Wales. Question number 25, still bottom row. There are, on the show for question number 25, the one that you're about to get, there was one accepted answer, but really there should be two, and we're accepting both of them. Usual adjective for the 1688 revolution that overthrew James II and placed William and Mary on the throne. So there are two answers. The one that it's more commonly known by is glorious. It's the Glorious Revolution. But if you said bloodless, you also receive credit. It wasn't the bloody, it was the bloodless revolution. Question number 26. Clearly lacking direction, this lord, prime minister from 1770 to 1782, was known as the minister who lost America. So Jeopardy does this again, clearly lacking in direction. This is Lord North. Lord North. Question number 27. We only have 4 left to go. British Pride added a helmet to the British Museum from this site, where an undisturbed 7th century Anglo-Saxon burial ship was excavated. So, I did not know this. I will not even pretend to know this. I looked at this question. I asked Amy, like, what? And I asked her what the Pavlovs were, because I didn't know them myself. But it turns out that around 5 of you knew this. That the Sutton Hoo was the site where this helmet, and you need to know the Sutton Hoo helmet. So great job to the 5 of you who got that. Question number 28. It'll take more than a moment to read this 1988 bestseller by British physicist Stephen Hawking. It'll take more than a moment to read A Brief History of Time. A Brief History of Time. 2 questions left. Term for a feudal Anglo-Saxon or Scottish lord. Macbeth was one of quarter. The correct answer is Thane. Thane, right? That's the correct pronunciation, Thane? Last question. After this question, Amy is going to be spamming out a link to you. It's to the PDF, so you could download all the information, including a FAQ about how the entire process goes with the tests and what to expect on tape day and stuff like that. Some questions that a lot of Jeopardy people get a lot, and you might not know the answers to. So it's definitely something to check out. Also, all the questions you saw tonight, including Pavlov's highlighted words for you to study from, so when these questions come back up, you'll be able to answer them right the next time. If you like what we do here, please subscribe to the channel. Anyway, here's our last question of the night. Question number 30. In 1318, Edward Bruce, brother of this Scottish king, was killed fighting in Ireland. Looks good. We wanted Robert the Bruce. Robert the Bruce. Again, thank you to Trivial Warfare. Thank you to the Jeopardy fan for doing all that they are doing in regards to supporting our stream. And especially if you don't know J Archive, best way to do it. Best way to hang out with it. If you could support the channel, please do. Hearts in chat for everyone who's involved. Hearts in chat for Amy for doing a lot of this writing. Hearts in chat for Trivial Warfare and the Jeopardy fan and J Archive. Hearts in chat for all of you for being here. Y'all great. Let's get out of here. Edifice Rex. Oh no. Whoop whoop, it's the sound of the police outside. That's just typical here. Damn the police. Hearts in chat for Lee. Aw, you guys are sweet. I just talk real fast. That's my goal. We're gonna talk real fast.